Well, hello, everybody. This is Mike DeBoer with the Franchise Business Podcast, and I'm honored to be joined today by Sara Roy. Sarah's somebody that I've had the privilege of getting to know and worked with and built a relationship with over the last little while. So, Sarah, if you don't mind just kind of introducing yourself, what you do as you're kind of helping people think about business ownership and getting into business for themselves.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'm Sara Roy. I am a career ownership coach with the Entrepreneur Source. So I'm a franchise business owner with that franchise system. And at a very high level, what I do is I work with clients who are in a career transition and open to exploring business ownership as a potential career opportunity outside of traditional employment.
Awesome, Sarah. And everyone I'm sure that you work with has different, backgrounds, but then also goals and dreams for what, their life might look like. That's kind of driving them even considering a change. So what is your process for understanding the people that you work with, what might be the right fit for them, what their goals are? Yeah, kind of walk me through what your process looks like.
Yeah, the formal process that we go through, there is a personality assessment that we send to clients, partly to be a better coach for the client because we're dealing with people's emotions, fears, risk, all those different things. And so that gives me a tool or resource to help cater the coaching experience for my clients. But it also helps my clients become a little bit more self-reflective. Who am I? What am I good at? What environments might I operate better in? Where do I waste my time? What values can I provide to an organization? And begin thinking about themselves not as an employee, but as a business owner. What would I look like? Where would I thrive if I were a business owner? We then work through understanding what their goals are. And there's a part of who am I, but then there's this part of where do I want to go? And then we explore how are we going to get there? There are different paths to business ownership, startups, resales, franchising, in addition to the standard, traditional employment, investments, all those other things. So the journey is about exploring how to make our dreams come true and then giving clients the tools and resources to connect with experts and have the conversation. Many of us think we know what we know, right? And until we actually have the conversation with the experts, we may have a completely differing opinion or misunderstanding about something. And so that's what this coaching journey does, is it lays a baseline of education for clients, but then through a network of business partners, funding partners, franchises, some small business service providers. It's about these clients getting access to having conversations and really digging in and doing the research. Now everybody's path is different. They're going to come to a different result, but the journey is fun. And so that's essentially what the coaching journey looks like. It's different durations, different people, different emotions, different resources, but it is a safe space for clients to explore what's possible.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that decision, if someone's doing it on their own, can be so daunting. There's so much information out there and so many different business types out there that someone like you is just a great resource to make it enjoyable and have kind of a methodology in place. So on that note, Sarah, I mean, there's thousands of franchise models out there. I think another big asset that you provide is you can vet a lot of these brands. And then, kind of decipher those thousands of options into, a few that are actually the perhaps right fit for that person that you're speaking with. So kind of talk me through that, then, after you've learned about the person, finding some brands that are the right fit for them and taking them through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So being part of a franchise system, we do have a great organization that vets many of our business partners in our network. So that is taken off the table for me. They do a wonderful job. And so we have a great group of businesses that are represented in our network. From there, yes, it is about, understanding the client's goals and then just listening, having conversations through these. I conduct 45-minute coaching sessions. I can pick up so many different pieces of information through these conversations, not what they're telling me on paper, on the in the pre-work or the coaching tools and resources that we leverage. A lot of it is listening, and then it's kind of testing their boundaries. Again, sometimes clients think they know what they want, and it's easier to stay in our lane, stay in something that we know. But when we throw in something that's a little bit outside of the norm, sometimes that incentivizes some passion, some
Sure.
curiosity, some just re-engagement. For some folks, it's a little bit scarier, and so you could do kind of gauge. There are some folks that have more of a risk tolerance. They're
Right.
willing to expand more. Others, you got to keep them a little bit closer to what they're used to, for because of that safety, that security need that many
Right.
people have. But it's really about giving clients that starting point to test what they think they want.
Mhm.
And so I'm listening through all these different coaching sessions, and again, it's not about me saying what's best for them. It's about giving them a starting point, a foundation to begin having the conversations. And they're really the ones that are telling me what's best for them.
Right.
That's the difference in what our coaching methodology is they're telling me, they're doing the work. It's not Sara saying, Mike, these are going to be the best opportunities for you.
Right.
I've only met with my clients, 3-4 weeks at a time. I don't know all the ins and outs of them. I don't know them well. They know themselves.
Sure.
And if they're really serious about the process and getting to a different result, they're going to do the work, and they're going to begin discovering what makes sense for them. And
Right.
so again, kind of hopping around a little bit, but I am listening for those key things. I do have a questionnaire I send to clients, just to get a baseline of what they think they want.
Right.
But it's about giving them a little bit more, little different, stretching their boundaries a little bit.
Right.
So I start with 3 business models that I introduce them to, and that's what I do in my practice. And I tend to introduce them to a model that maybe is a little closer to home,
Mhm.
has a little bit more familiarity
Sure.
to them. But then, based on other passions, other experiences they've had, maybe you hear something in the background. Oh, well, my husband is in this field, or my parents are in this field.
Right.
Sometimes there are things that are complementary to what other folks are doing that are in their space,
Sure.
in their network. So it's about catching on to some of those things. And it's fun because then when I actually present these businesses, oh, you know what? I didn't tell you about this.
Right.
I actually have a background in this, or my husband does this. So sometimes you learn after the fact, and that can be really insightful as well. And having them draw those correlations, and
Right.
how the businesses I present them to can complement other people, or things that are in their network. So
Sure.
it is a lot about listening, but it's about again, having them kind of test themselves, and see how stretch themselves a little bit.
Right,
So
for sure. Yeah, it's their own decision, right? But like
yeah.
you are a coach, so you're giving them the
Mhm.
resources and enough knowledge to make a decision on what might be the right fit for themselves.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah, I'm always interested. I mean, challenging might not be the right word, but I'm sure maybe if not, you're lucky. But you've had people that it was hard to get them to really think about what they wanted, or maybe they had some
Mhm.
paralysis by analysis, or whatever it might be. Is there any example of someone that it was a different kind of process, but you still got them over the humps that they needed to get over, got them in a model that really, worked for them, and they've been successful there ever since?
Yeah, there's there's several.
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
so many, and like I said, everybody's journey is a little bit different.
Of
Sometimes
course.
it's not just a straight path.
Mhm.
I had one gentleman, he and I actually worked together at a former employer,
Okay.
and he and I were connected. We worked through the coaching journey, and he was like, I'm just not quite ready. I don't know if this is the right path for me. And I don't know, it was like a month later, I get a call from the business partner, one of the business partners I connected him to.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, this gentleman has reached out and he's ready to reengage, and
Wow.
he was ready to go." And so something in that month time, his situation changed. He got a point of clarity. Sometimes it's just stepping back away.
Right.
We put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Sure.
Many of us do. And
Yeah.
so it was one where he stepped away completely for a little bit. He was like, "I just need to pause."
Mhm.
And then out of the blue, he re-engages with the business partner. Business partner calls me,
Right.
and he's signing his franchise agreement, within a couple weeks, and
Awesome.
funding was there. And
Right.
so it was a pretty seamless transaction. So, you get examples like that. You get
Yeah.
examples where maybe folks don't have the funding. They're trying to build up their credit scores.
Right.
I have a client right now that's working on that, and getting close, and you see the progress, and it's really exciting when you get those updates that they're really working on it, and getting to that point. But yeah, so many fun examples. I have another example of a woman who she was real high level executive. She left her job. She was burnout, wanted something different. She's very risk averse. Wonderful, wonderful client.
Right.
We went round and round a little bit, and then she's like, my husband is kind of interested in a business as well. Complete opposite personality. He's not this
Okay.
outgoing person, and so
Yeah.
it was like, "Well, do you want to combine? Are you guys thinking about doing a business together?" "Oh, no, 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 no. We can't work together. We can't work together. No." And
Nah.
through the journey, because I know we've got a time limit probably today, Mike, but
No,
through
you're
the
good.
they end up partnering together, and they now have a franchise business that they run together. But
Wow.
because they complement each other so well, she does more of the office admin,
Right.
operations stuff, and he's the face of the business because that's what he likes to do.
Right.
And so everybody's journey is so different. They get there in different ways, but there are different tools. I kind of talked about the personality assessment.
Yeah.
We leverage a book that the Entrepreneur Source puts out.
Okay.
So we have resources that, as clients are experiencing fears, risk, funding issues, credit issues, that during the coaching sessions, as I mentioned earlier, I do stay connected with my clients when they're speaking with these business partners. We do debrief calls at least once a week to check in. And that's the purpose of those, is to see what their concerns are, to see what some red flags are, and try to give them the tools, not to push them into business ownership, but
Sure.
to help them uncover their point of clarity. And that
Right.
may be business ownership. It may not be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think everyone's path is different. It's never a straightforward line to making these decisions. So as long
Yeah.
as you're meeting them where they're at, I think that's the best approach, and you're good at that in your role. Any other success stories, Sarah, that you're willing to share? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about some challenging circumstances, but any other success story that you wanted to share?
Those are the biggest ones.
Sure.
I've been doing this now for 2.5 years, so I
Okay.
still have, there's a longevity there that,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit for clients to begin realizing, and, cash flowing and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's fun to see the clients that I've worked with over the last 2.5 years now finally starting to see their businesses pick up.
Right.
I'm sure, in the next year or two, I'll have a lot more to show. But yeah, it is fun to see the different options out there. I've had clients that have opened brick and mortars. I've had clients that are doing more what I'm doing, some coaching, consulting from home,
Right.
and so maybe they get up to speed a little bit faster.
Mhm.
Yeah, the guy that I know that we were former coworkers, he's killing it. He ended up
Nice.
in a real estate business,
Okay.
and he's doing fabulous.
That's cool.
And I've got another client that just got into a recruiting business, and he's killing it just in the last couple months that he started.
Nice.
So it's fun to stay connected, see things on social media, get the little updates that I get from them periodically. Hey, check it in, let you know
Right.
how I'm doing. So
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm sure it's very rewarding on your end to help these people find the right fit for themselves and, really
Mhm.
achieve what they wanted to achieve. So, Sarah, my last question is, I'm sure you run into a lot of misconceptions that people might have about business ownership or franchising,
Mhm.
maybe specifically. What are some common misconceptions that you run into with people? And then, how do you kind of communicate to address those things and maybe get people thinking the right way about what this world can look like for them?
Yeah, the big one is business ownership in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
That they cost millions of dollars. I'm going to be out on the corner.
Hmm.
If it fails, that's the big conundrum. How do I fund a business? And there are a lot of sayings I have or examples that I give clients. One being that we when we buy homes or when we buy cars, we don't have cash just sitting there, right?
Right.
To
Yeah.
hand over to buy those in full, right?
Sure.
There are ways to fund and pay for those types of large expenditures.
Mhm.
There are with businesses as well, and we're going to learn about that. So it's kind of bringing people back to reality
Right.
that if you don't do this with a car and a house, why would you expect to do it with a business,
Sure.
right? You're not going to do it.
Mhm.
It's an excuse. It's a roadblock. It's an
Right.
excuse that we put out there. So that's one big one, just that hurdle of business ownership in and of itself. The second one, of course, is franchising. And yes, we do work with franchises, leveraging them as experts, to educate clients on what business ownership looks like. When people hear the word franchise, they think of McDonald's, they think
Yeah.
of Starbucks, right? They think about those retail businesses. And it is about breaking through that barrier. No, there's way more. And using the example of me.
Right.
Hey, I'm a coach and this is a franchise business.
Right.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
So it's being able to have the conversation to those that are open and willing to listen. There are many people that aren't open and willing to listen, and they might be missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah.
But where they are open and willing, those are the examples that I give. Is look at what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Think about these other businesses. Did you know these other businesses are franchises?
Right.
It's in and this is what we're going to learn in the coaching experience that many of us have built up myths and perceptions just like this one. I'm going to help you break those down. It's being able to have the conversation. And that's probably the biggest obstacle for me
Yeah.
as a coach. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Awesome, Sarah. Well, the last thing here is just kind of giving you the floor. If there's maybe someone that happens to watch this that's thinking, okay, my corporate job, it's not the right fit anymore. I'm kind of looking
Mhm.
to do something else. What might you say to someone that's considering, dipping their feet in learning more about what career ownership could look like?
Yeah, I would say it's worth having the conversation. It's worth getting the education to learn about what else is out there.
Yeah.
Many of us don't have that experience. We don't have that insight or a connection to business owners, so we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
What's really cool about my coaching services is that my services are no cost to my clients. And so it's a risk-free opportunity to get some coaching, understand again who you are, identify your goals, and then see what's out there beyond corporate or traditional employment.
Right.
And so that's, again, risk-free, get that education. Everybody's path is different. You're not committing to buying a business or starting a business. It's just understanding what your opportunities are, how to fund them, what resources and support are out there. Because once we get those questions answered, it takes the mystery away.
Sure.
And then maybe it doesn't seem as scary, as risky. We've got the resources, we've got the tools, we've got our questions answered, and that opens us up to more opportunity and possibilities.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. And I can attest that Sarah is a great resource, and anyone that does reach out to her is in great hands. So, Sarah, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I'm all over. I've got a LinkedIn profile, and I can send that to you, Mike, if that's
Sure.
something that we can share.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely on LinkedIn. I do have a website under the Entrepreneur Source, and I can pull that up here really quick. I should have had that teed
No.
up
Oh,
here.
we can link it as well. Don't worry.
Okay. I will send you all the links, but it is
Okay.
sroy.esourcecoach.com. is the website. And that does give you access to schedule a call with me, to view my testimonials and other resources that I have available. So that would be the best way to get a hold of me. Yeah.
Awesome, Sarah. Well, thank you very much for joining me and having this conversation and being on the Franchise Business Podcast. So thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, Mike.
Of course, absolutely. I'll talk to you.